Welcome to Lack versus Hacks. Today we're going to talk about the Florida mold licensing process and what it involves. Most people are aware that there are two different licenses to do mold-related services in Florida. There is a mold assessor's license and then a mold remediator's license. They both have pretty similar requirements, but what's important to know is that these licenses apply to individuals, not to businesses. You know, a general contractor's license is for a business. It's not the same in mold. In mold, you need to make sure that your inspector, the individual, is licensed to do mold assessments in Florida. It's an important detail. So how do we verify their licensure? And what did they have to do to become licensed? Let's explore that. Let's go to the DBPR website. And just so you know, the DBPR stands for Department of Business and Professional Regulation. They license a lot of different types of businesses and individuals for different types of work, ranging from asbestos and mold to real estate and cosmetology. So if we go to the homepage, www.myfloridalicense.com, what we're going to want to do is look for licensing and regulation and find mold-related services. And if you scroll down to license types, let's go with mold assessor, since that's what I specialize in. And click on apply for a license. We'll select mold assessor and let's go with the option for initial license by examination. There's a few different options that people can choose from if they have a military background, maybe they've been in the industry for over 10 years, or maybe they came from out of state. But most people are going with the initial license by examination option. And so on this page, it opens up a brand new page and it shows us the application requirements. Now I want you to realize and understand an important concept. The Florida mold licensure process is important and it's required. If someone is offering mold assessment services in your property, they must be licensed by the state of Florida. That license begins with letters MRSA and it's followed by, it could be 1, 4, or 5 numbers, depending on how long they've had their license. So this is a requirement, but I also want you to understand that it's also a starting point for your inspector. So if we look at these requirements, right away it says, individuals seeking licensure as a mold assessor must first take and pass a department-approved exam for mold assessment. That makes sense. Most people have to do that for any kind of licensure. You also must have education and/or experience. So if you're coming with at least an Associates of Arts degree with at least 30 credit hours in microbiology, engineering, architecture, industrial hygiene, occupational safety and health, or something similar, if you have at least 30 credit hours of that, then you only need 1 year of documented field training. If you don't have that type of formal education, then you need 4 years of that documented field training and a high school diploma. You also have to get fingerprinted, make sure you don't have any criminal history, and then have insurance and pay a fee. So we're going to take a look at the different companies that offer the department-approved examinations. These companies had to show the department that they covered specific topics. They had to follow the department's requirements for the number of questions that are on the exam, how long you have to take the exam, standard stuff that you would expect. Now, the department lists, 9 companies that you can take an exam with. So we're gonna just pick a couple of them and look at their website. So if you're hiring an inspector that is saying, I've got the best certification, it's the best one they offer, you can trust me, I encourage you to take a step back. Let's take a look at what that certification really entails, because someone saying that is potentially a red flag. So let's look at a couple of these here. We've got ACAC examinations, IICRC, NORMI, National Association of Environmentally Responsible Contractors, that's a little bit of a mouthful, National Association for Moisture Management, ACICP, NETI, AMA, NIAQI. So let's go to NORMI's website. I'm on their website right now. You should be able to see it to my right. And I want to try to find where they talk about their Florida mold license, because I want to know, what does that involve? Do I have to take a class? Can I just take the exam? What's required? All right, so on the Normie website, let's go to training, Normie examinations for mold assessor and remediation. So on this page, they're announcing that the Normie exams are approved for the Florida licensing. They give you an option to take a class and do the exam, or you can skip the class and just take the exam. This is pretty typical for a lot of these organizations, and there's nothing inherently wrong with either option. So I'm going to select the I wish to schedule exam with no prerequisite training. And so I'm on that page now, and what's a little peculiar is it says that having a copy of the student manual for the specific examination enhances your ability to pass the exam with a 70% passing grade, as all exams are open book exams, except in Texas and New York. I can attest to this. I took the Normie training class for my licensure. You're required to take these exams, so I took that exam and yep, it was open book. I can confirm that. So let's take a look at another licensing exam option that the DBPR lists. Let's go to number 4, National Association of Environmentally Responsible Mold Contractors. So the website name I just noticed is called freemoldtraining.org. So if you are a consumer and you're interested in learning more, but you don't want to invest in these classes, this one might be a good website to get your feet wet on this knowledge and on this topic. Right at the top, it has a Florida mold licensing page. So we'll click on that link. And it has, click here for study materials. So I guess those are the free materials that you can download and browse yourself. And if we scroll down about the exam, it has, our program has the following features and benefits. It says they offer free online training anytime. That's nice. It says it offers free required training that the department requires in water, mold, and respiratory protection. So it says in the third bullet point, exam is open notes. Passing score is 70%. I don't know if you care about whether these exams are open notes or open book. That's not my call to make. That's for you to evaluate before you hire these people. So let's take a look at the other options that are available to applicants. The very first one is ACAC examinations, and this one's a little different than the other two that we just looked at. So this company requires that you get certified through their organization, and only specific certifications qualify for the Florida license. And as part of that certification, you have to pass their exam, which also serves for the licensure exam. So let's look at their website and see what's required to even get these certifications. Now, when you go to the ACAC website, they have a lot of different options for certification tracks. The one for the indoor environmentalist is kind of like a middle level certification for ACAC. So let's try to find that real quick here. Programs, CIE. To earn the Council Certified Indoor Environmentalist designations, the candidate must demonstrate verifiable field experience in indoor air quality investigation. Now, indoor air quality is a really broad term, but that certainly includes mold and water damage. You must also pass a rigorous examination based on broad industry knowledge rather than a course curriculum. That's a pretty big difference. You also must earn the unanimous approval of the certification board. So not only do you have to meet their application requirements, you also have to pass the exam, but then before you are awarded this designation, their board reviews your file to make sure that you meet all of their qualifications as well. And then you have to recertify every 2 years and have 20 hours of professional development activities each year and maintain the highest ethical standards. This is a pretty big difference from the other two companies that we just looked at. And these are all the requirements just for that certification, not necessarily for the license with Florida. So So the licensure, again, is what you get to get your foot in the door. You get your license, now you can do mold assessments, but that's all the license really does. It doesn't demonstrate knowledge or experience or competency. Some certifications do though. And so again, if your inspector is saying, I have these certifications and they're the best, it might be a red flag, but you can do your research and take a look at what's required for those certifications, and it just might be a green flag. So we're going to go back to the DBPR website and let's review the actual application that these people submit to get their licensure. So I'm taking a look at the printable application right now. You can submit this online too, but for this video, the printable one's easier to work with. And it starts off with checkboxes of which type of licensure you're seeking. It goes into lots of instructions and normal information, your name, your address, have you ever been known under other names, things like that. And it asks about other licenses that you hold and background information, very important. Have you ever been convicted of a crime? Many people in this industry are alone in people's homes. It's important that somebody does not have a criminal background if they're going to be alone in someone's home. It offers explanations in case you have one of those circumstances that may, be a special circumstance where it's not really a problem for your licensure. And then it goes into education. So if you're one of those individuals that's qualifying for a license with some formal education, whether it's an associate's degree, bachelor's, or higher, you would list that information and specifically the courses you took. Because again, the department doesn't really care about the fact of whether you have a degree. What they care about are the classes you took that would contribute towards your knowledge and competency in this topic of mold assessment. So did you take microbiology courses? Do you have any advanced class experience in industrial hygiene or safety, things of that nature that you would run into on a job site? And then we're on page 10, where really this is the bulk of the application and probably one of the more important parts, which is the experience list. So depending on what licensure type you're seeking, whether it's the 1-year experience with education or the 4-year experience with the high school diploma, that leads to how many projects you have to cite under your experience list. So you have to cite 15 projects per calendar year. So if you're one of those people coming in with 4 years of experience, you're going to have 60 projects you need to list. Now, the experience list isn't very detailed or overly complicated. You just need to write the date of the assignment, just a small description of the work you did there. Was it a mold assessment or was it remediation? Literally, that's a very limited amount of information here. And then who you worked for while you did that project. And you do that times either by 15 or by 60. The rest of the application is endorsements saying that you're going to have liability insurance when you get your license, offering any explanations for other hardships that might prevent renewals if you missed your renewal window, and then a final signature. And folks, that's the entire mold assessor's license application for the state of Florida through the DBPR. So all you need to have is the right experience and pass an exam, and you're good to go. This is a step to get your foot in the door to do mold assessments or mold remediation, if that's the application you're applying to. Additional information that would be valuable to consumers is, okay, great, you have your license. What other certifications do you have that demonstrate your competence, experience, and knowledge in this subject? That's something for you to ask them. Maybe you've hired an inspector and they've given you a license number, but you're wondering, is this license even real? Let's find out. So I do this almost every day. All you need to do is Google DBPR, verify a license. The first thing that comes up for me, it says licensing portal search - license search. And you can search by name. So we're going to search my name. So last name first, Luce, first name Shannon. I have a few different licenses in Florida, so I'm gonna limit it to the mold-related services for the license category. And license type, mold assessor. And click search, and I'm right there. So folks, you can see on the screen, it lists license type, mold assessor, has my name, it has my license number, that MRSA 2807, and it says what the status is. It's current, active, and my license doesn't expire until next July in 2026. Now we can take this a step further. Let's see if any complaints have been filed against my license. So you click on my name, it'll show the address that my license is linked to, which is our LAQ office. And if you scroll down, there is view related license information and view license complaint. So I'm gonna click on the complaint one. Let's see if anything pops up. Nothing pops up. Thank God, I was really worried for a second. So this is a great section to just double check that nobody's filed a complaint. A complaint doesn't necessarily mean that that person has done anything nefarious, but it is something you should just double check for you to evaluate yourself. And so I recommend that you take a look at this website anytime you hire a mold assessor. Verify that person's credentials, make sure they're current, active, and that there's no troubling complaints against that license. My next video is going to take this a step further beyond the minimum licensing requirements that help you decide if an assessor is competent before you hire them. See you next time.